I'm a bit slow in doing some of these videos this morning because I was kept on the phone for 40 minutes a few minutes ago by a company called Aviva that was busy telling me that they'd paid me some money, a very small amount of money really, which they shouldn't have taken. They paid it back to me. But it hasn't appeared in my bank account for some weeks now. It hasn't appeared in my bank account. They still haven't sent me proof of the deposit that they made, and they could understand my frustration, and and they're sorry that I'm upset. I'm upset because this is a catalogue of passive aggression. It's a catalogue of bullying. It's a catalogue of deceit. And when they want money, they're only too happy to take it. When they are expected to give me money, they're very reluctant. They're very tardy. They're very remiss, and they play games, and they take up a lot of time. And I've still not got anything worked out now, and it just makes me infuriated that they call in the middle of the while I'm actually doing YouTubing stuff and work, and expect me to then be on hold for 40 odd minutes and dutifully, like some sort of netted crab. I am. Anyway, let's just very quickly look at Donald Trump, because there's reports of a leaked peace plan that has been allegedly orchestrated by President Trump to end the war in Ukraine within 100 days of his return to office. And while the authenticity of the plan remains in dispute, Zelensky's office denies its existence outright. Its implications, if true, raise fundamental questions about the future of Ukraine, the credibility of Western security commitments, and the strategic aims of both Moscow and Washington. So, according to the Ukrainian outlet Strana, the plan follows a three-phase timeline. First of all, in immediate negotiations, Trump would initiate talks with Vladimir Putin, paving the way for direct communication between Putin and President Zelensky. There'd be a ceasefire by April the 20th, when fighting would be frozen along existing frontiers, effectively solidifying Russia's current territorial gains, which is worrying. And there'd be a final agreement by May the 9th, when Ukraine would be required to renounce its NATO ambitions and formally recognise Russia's sovereignty over the annexed regions in return for continued US military aid and a pathway to European Union membership by 2030. In addition, Ukraine would have to withdraw from Russia's Kursk region, while a European-led peacekeeping force, potentially including British troops, would be deployed to monitor a newly created demilitarized zone. American forces, notably, would not participate. Under the purported terms, Ukraine would receive several guarantees: continued US military support for its armed forces and to maintain its armed forces, an expedited EU membership process with the bloc leading post-war reconstruction efforts, a guarantee against further Russian aggression, though without NATO protection. And Ukraine would also have to make significant concessions. It would have to recognize Russian sovereignty over occupied territories, including Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. There would be Western sanctions lifted on Russia, albeit gradually, and with some revenue being allocated for Ukraine's rebuilding. And there would be political restrictions, including the reintegration of pro-Russian political parties into Ukraine's democratic system. For Putin, the plan, if legitimate, represents a major diplomatic coup, and without further military escalation, he would achieve many of his key war objectives, which were the territorial gains, that Ukraine would remain outside NATO, preventing further Western encroachment, and that economic sanctions would ease, bolstering Russia's struggling economy. The only price Moscow pays is a loosely defined commitment to halt military operations, a condition it's already flouted in the past. From Washington's standpoint, the proposed peace plan aligns with Trump's long-standing isolationist tendencies. His rhetoric has often suggested an eagerness to shift responsibility for European security to the EU while prioritising economic deals over military commitments. And Trump has repeatedly claimed he could end the war in a day. If this plan reflects the real approach, then his objective is clear: to extricate the US from long-term involvement, shift the burden onto Europe, and refocus American foreign policy elsewhere, likely towards China. Yet the proposal also serves US economic interests. A thawing of US-Russian relations would allow American firms to resume energy imports, reducing Europe's dependence on high-cost LNG shipments from the US, and the continued arming of Ukraine ensures that US defence contractors maintain a steady revenue stream even as direct US involvement wanes. For Europe, the plan proposes what will be a paradox. While EU leaders have long supported Ukraine's EU accession, they now face a scenario where they must shoulder the bulk of its post-war reconstruction, estimated at over $486 billion. And additionally, if Ukraine's NATO bid is sacrificed in exchange for peace, Europe loses a major component of its broader security strategy. Unsurprisingly, President Zelensky and his administration have categorically rejected the existence of such a plan, let alone its terms. His position remains firm: no territorial concessions, no negotiations without a full Russian withdrawal, and no compromise on Ukraine's sovereignty. However, the reality of battlefield conditions may soon test this stance. Ukraine's counter-offensives have stalled. Western military support is uncertain because of shifting US political dynamics, and Russian forces continue to advance incrementally. If Trump's plan, or something like it, is formally proposed, Zelensky may find himself under intense pressure to consider it. The implications of this alleged peace plan are profound. It presents a trade-off between ending the war quickly and ensuring long-term Ukrainian sovereignty. If Trump's proposal, or a similar variant, gains traction, it could set a dangerous precedent where military aggression is rewarded with diplomatic legitimacy. Yet some may argue that an imperfect peace is preferable to an indefinite war. The question remains, does this plan provide a genuine roadmap to peace, or is it merely an American retreat disguised as diplomacy? And if so, at what cost to Ukraine and the broader world order?